Okay, good evening. It is August 8th, 2023. It is 7 p.m. Welcome to the San Marino Unified School District Board of Education meeting. And here is your board president, Shelley Ryan. All right.
Hello. Am I on?
Yes, you are.
Good. All right. Thank you, Dr. Choi. We begin this evening's session, regular open session. I'd like to call to order Pledge of Allegiance. Do we have a student? No, we do not, right? Okay, so I'd like everyone to stand, please. Place your hand over your heart. Let's begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. May I have an approval of our agenda? Thank you, Mrs. Gill. Thank you, Mrs. Chan. And with that, I'd like to do roll call vote. Mr. Chang?
Aye.
Mrs. Chan?
Aye.
Mrs. Gill?
Aye. Aye.
Mrs. Lamb?
Ms. Lamb,
Mrs.
yes.
Ryan? Aye. And student board member?
Aye.
Thank you. And so the agenda has been approved. Approval of the minutes. This is for June 27th, 2023 Board of Education meeting minutes.
I move to approve the minutes. Second.
Thank you, Mrs. John. Thank you, Mrs. Gill. So with that, roll call vote for approval of the minutes for June 27th. Mr. Chang?
Aye.
Mrs. Chan?
Aye.
Mrs. Gill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lamb?
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan? Aye. And student board member?
Aye.
All right. I'd like to take a moment and just introduce our student board member, or are we doing it later? Oh, Jose will do it. Okay. Thank you. Sorry, Jose. Public comment. The Board of Education has adopted Board Policy 9323B. This will ensure the public's right to be heard in any matters pertaining to the San Marino Unified School District. Persons who wish to provide public comment will have three options to submit public comments. First, they may submit an online form. Second, they may request to speak during the meeting via Zoom. Third, request to speak during the meeting in person via the public comment card. Submit through an online form. The public may submit public comments for the open or closed session on August 8th from 11 a.m. through 3:30 p.m. And Jennifer, I understand we did not have any submissions. Is that correct? Yes. No submissions, that is correct. All right. Comments received during this time will not be read during the meeting, but would be provided to the Board of Education. Request to speak during the meeting via Zoom. During public comment, the meeting will pause for 1 minute to take requests to speak. The raise hand function is used to take requests during the public comment period. For online attendees, press the raise hand icon to add yourself to the queue. For phone attendees, dial *9. The speaking order will be determined based on the order of requests received. Individual speakers will be unmuted and called to speak. Stephen, give us a minute.
Yeah, okay, we are going to go ahead and pause for 1 minute to take requests to speak regarding matters that are not on the agenda or items that are in the consent or information sections, including the action items on the agenda. So if you'd like to make a request to speak, please press the raise hand icon or dial *9 if you are joining us by phone. 30 seconds remain. If you'd like to make a request, please press the raise hand icon or dial *9. Okay, President Ryan, we have no requests.
Thank you, Dr. Choi. Next, you may request to speak during the meeting in person via the public comment card. Please complete the public comment card, submit the completed card to the designated drop box with the assistant to the superintendent, Ms. Jennifer Delatorre. Opportunities for public comment are offered prior to closed session and at the start of the regular open session for matters not on the agenda, but for matters on the agenda. The Board of Education reserves the right to add a public comment period to any individual item on the agenda. 5 minutes may be allotted to each speaker, maximum of 20 minutes to each subject matter. However, in the event there are more than 4 speakers on the same subject matter, the board president retains the discretion to adjust and limit the time allotted to each speaker to ensure that all wishing to speak will be heard within the 20-minute allotment. Communication from the audience regarding matters that are not on the agenda or items in the consent or information sections, please provide your comments now. For items in the action section of the agenda, please provide your comments prior to the board beginning the discussion on those action items.
So we did not have any requests,
All
President Ryan.
right,
Thank
there
you.
are no requests to speak. Public hearing, the board, number 8, the Board of Education has adopted board policy 9323B to ensure the public's right to be heard in any matters pertaining to the San Marino Unified School District. Persons who wish to provide public comment will have 3 options to submit public comment. We already understand that there were none submitted online. No one is requesting to speak on Zoom and request to speak during the meeting in person via the public comment card. All right, so next, 8A, okay. Okay, in 8A, AB 1200, public disclosure of collective bargaining agreements. The San Marino Unified School District Board of Education is holding a public hearing this evening on the 2023 to 24 AB 1200 report disclosure for the San Marino Teachers Association, SMTA, California School Employees Association, CSEA, Chapter 120, and Management, Administrative, Confidential, and Unrepresented Employees. This hearing is in compliance with California Government Code Section 3547.5, Education Code Section 42142, and the criteria and standards adopted by the State Board of Education. And Dr. Linda Delatorre, you will present.
President Ryan, you just presented.
Oh,
So
I
thank you.
did.
Yeah, thank you very much. So we'll pause the meeting for 1 minute to conduct the public hearing.
Thank you, Dr. Delatorre. We're pausing for 1 minute to take requests to speak regarding the AB 1200 public disclosure of collective bargaining agreements. So if you'd like to make a request to speak, please press the raise hand icon or dial *9. And 30 seconds remain for this public hearing. If you'd like to make a request to speak, please press the raise hand icon or dial *9. Okay, the public hearing is closed. There are no requests.
Thank you, Dr. Choi. Next, in number 9 is the consent section. There has been an amendment to the consent section, item 9A, wherein certificated personnel documents, San Marino High School Assistant Principal Victor Ledesma has resigned, and an amendment to his effective dates has been implemented on the certificate personnel document. Do I have a motion to approve the consent section A through J with the amendment to item 9A. Thank you, Mrs. Gill.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Chang. Roll call. Mrs. Lamb?
Aye.
Mrs. Gill?
Aye.
Mrs. Chang?
Aye.
Mr. Chang?
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan? Aye. Student board member?
Aye.
Thank you. Number 10, communication section. A, communication from the Board of Education. We ask that each board member take no more than 2 to 3 minutes to share their communication. Mrs. Lamb.
Thank you. I am very excited that the new school year is starting officially tomorrow. I want to extend the biggest thank you and appreciation to all the educators because I know that all of you have worked tirelessly to make the school year the best that it can be, including all the curriculum preparation and making sure our students are feeling safe and welcome, and also for the faculty, building that morale for everyone. So thank you for that. I have a rising first grader, so she'll be a first grader tomorrow, and she's extremely excited, packing her backpack already. This morning, my crayons go here, my pencils are going here. So really excited to see what the school year is going to bring forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Lamb, and we're very excited for your daughter. All right, Mrs. Gill?
I would just like to second what Ms. Lamb said, and also extend a warm welcome to our newest administrators and our newest faculty members who I got a chance to be introduced to, some in person, some from afar at the breakfast this morning, which there was a great presentation about the role of AI in the future of education. That was just actually fascinating and gave me a lot to think about. I'm just so excited for the school year to get started and for us to get back to work for the students.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Gill. Mrs. Chun?
Thank you. Yes, so I also attended the breakfast this morning, and in addition was able to stay for the morning half of the professional development and saw our presentation by Ms. Karen Yunkers regarding restorative practices, and the presentation with Chameleon and Associates, which included sort of a drill on the Valentine campus. And I appreciate that everybody's pushing into the year with a very proactive approach across all fronts. I think looking at safety, looking at restorative practices with our social and emotional health of our students in the forefront. The academics is sort of always a given in San Marino. And so to put other things at the forefront, honestly, is a luxury for us that I feel is a great privilege for our district to be able to participate in, where we still see a lot of other districts struggling to recover from the pandemic with less than a full force of employee, with a lot of people just very uncertain and very unengaged in their children's education. I think we have the privilege of always saying, we've got that part down and we're gonna push the envelope on what public education is possible to do in California and in Los Angeles County. And so I appreciate so much the work of our district, our staff, our teachers, our faculty, our parents. I think everyone hit summer hard and probably came back hitting the school year harder. And it's just really a testament to the amazing energy that San Marino offers.
Thank you, Mrs. Chang. Mr. Chang?
First of all, I also like to extend a welcome to the school science and the new administrator. Welcome. And also the student board, Megan. July 20, I attend the San Marino Rotary because there's our San Marino High School alumni, Dr. Lee Zuckerman. He graduated from the 1994, and right now he's a City of Hope oncology surgeon. So I'm so proud, the San Marino High School generate a lot of physicians that can help the community. August 1st, I attend the Huntington Library Education Committee. Their director, they're trying to utilize Huntington Library resource, develop the curriculum for K-12 public school district. So later I will discuss suggest to our superintendent. We also can take this opportunity to see what we can generate more curriculum. August 6th, the past Sunday, I attend the cover new parent gathering. Thank you for principal host this good event. I know it's hard during the very high temperature, and you have to do again and again to give the the parent orientation, the side orientation. During the event, I saw my old friend, a retired dentist, and their 3 generation, and second generation bring their kid to the cover. So I know in this community, the citizen continue to come in our San Bernardino Unified School District. I think that also increase for enrollment for the cover. This morning, I also attend the school district breakfast. Welcome the teacher back. I'm interested about the AI topic. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chang. So I'm going to keep my report brief because my board member and my colleagues have already reported on much of what I would say, and that is really just that our staff, our cabinet, our teachers, our support staff, everyone got a much needed break, and I felt when I walked into the cafeteria this morning that everybody was energized and ready to come back and begin to work again with our children. And our children are going to be so excited to come back and see the campuses. I was so pleased with Carver's orientation this past weekend that I attended 2 of your tours, right, Stuart? I went and then I went again, and he was just like, wow, she just keeps coming back over and over again. Great tour, and it was a great welcome to our new families, and I welcome all of our new administrators and their family. Welcome, Megan, also for joining our team. Thank you. You learn a lot here, but you have to put in a lot of time, right? Because we're here meeting in the evenings. But so welcome, so proud that you can join us and do some of the work here and find out what we're all about. Want to turn it over to. Yes, but they're going to do it differently today. Yes.
Well, do you have a report for this evening?
I can say a few words.
Okay, we'll wait for the introduction.
Yes,
for her to say a few words.
yes.
But can we go to the superintendent?
Yes, superintendent first. Yeah, 2 or 3 of us have tried to introduce her, but Jose's here.
Okay,
Okay.
so thank you, Madam President, Board of Education and executive team. I have the distinct pleasure as part of my superintendent comments to introduce a few people this evening. And we're going to start with asking Mr. Jose Kerr to come up to the podium and introduce our wonderful new student board member, Megan. Mr.
Do
Kerr.
this so that I can be facing all of you.
Yes.
Thank you for having me tonight. I have to tell you that I had to go to my office to print this because I forgot my glasses, because I was going to read from my phone, but I couldn't do it. So anyway, so thank you for having me tonight. Good evening, Board President Ryan, members of the board, Superintendent De La Torre, and cabinet members. It is my pleasure to be here tonight to introduce to you our student board member, Megan Choi. She has attended every one of our schools except only one of our elementary schools, of course, Carver Elementary School, Huntington Middle School, and now she's a proud senior at San Bernardino High School. She has been very involved as a student member of many of our organizations. She's a second-year member of our dance company. She's a gifted dancer. She has been a member of our ASB Associated Student Body Leadership Team for the last 3 years, has served as our student president for the freshman class, her freshman year, as our inter-club council president, and now she's going to conclude her high school career as a member of our Board of Education as a student representative. Megan is also very active in the San Marino Visual and Performing Arts Department. She always takes part in the spring musical. She was the dance captain this last year, and she will be our dance representative in our thespians cabinet this upcoming year. Megan is really looking forward to joining this group. She will learn a lot, and she will hopefully help a lot with deliberating and making your roles easier when it comes to student input. Thank you for having me tonight. I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much,
You're
Mr.
welcome.
Kerr, and welcome, Megan, to the board. We're so happy to have you with us, and I will turn it over to you, Megan, to make a few remarks. You can do it from where you're at.
Perfect. So first of all, thank you so much, Mr. Kerr, for that wonderful introduction. So as Mr. Kerr had mentioned, I am a rising senior, and I've been so lucky to go through all 3 schools from the San Marino Unified School District. And I really think going into senior year, I'm so excited to really soak up all of those traditions and everything that just makes San Marino so special. And as a member, a student representative for the board, I really do look forward to representing our student body, because I do appreciate the opportunity that we are given to have a voice and to give our input to the district that you all work so hard to build and to maintain. And speaking on behalf of the students, we all know a lot of change is coming. I believe that change can cause uncertainty, and uncertainty can cause a little bit of fear. But I also would like to say that I have no doubt that this year will be anything but amazing because of all of our wonderful faculty that is coming in. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Megan.
Thank you so much, Megan. I look forward to hearing the student voice, as I'm sure our president and Board of Education does as well. And next, I would like to call up Dr. Benjamin Wolf to the podium, please. He is our new San Marino High School principal, and I have the distinct honor and privilege of introducing him to the Board of Education and to the community this evening. We are also delighted to have his beautiful wife, Rochelle, here with him. Rochelle and Ben have 2 children, and Ben has 18, he's probably tired of me saying this, but he has 18 years of experience as a high school principal, comes to us from Glendale, 7 years there, and we are extremely privileged to have him here at San Marino High School, leading the school forward in so many incredible ways. And so I'd like to just tell you a little bit about Ben before I turn it over to him to make some remarks. Dr. Wolf earned his EDD from the University of California, where he honed his expertise in educational leadership. Additionally, he holds a bachelor's degree and a master's degree from the University of California, Irvine, UC Irvine. With a solid foundation in education and a wealth of experience, Dr. Wolf's professional journey has been marked by remarkable achievements. For the past 7 years, he served as a highly successful Glendale High School principal, where he made significant strides in fostering an environment conducive to academic excellence and personal growth. Prior to his tenure at Glendale High, Dr. Wolf held the principal position at Anaheim Union High School District, and earlier in his career, he served as principal of the Orange County School of the Arts. These experiences have given him a deep understanding of managing and leading all aspects of a comprehensive high school. In addition to his distinguished administrative career, Dr. Wolf has made significant contributions to the areas of arts, career technical education, and athletic programs. Recognizing their invaluable impact on a holistic education. His commitment to student success and emphasis on student voice has earned him the reputation of an empowering and engaged educational leader. Dr. Wolf's forward-thinking approach and visibility in the school community have created an atmosphere where students, parents, and staff all feel respected, involved, and motivated to excel. His dedication to fostering a positive and inclusive learning environment aligns perfectly with the San Marino High School's core values. We are confident that Dr. Benjamin Wolf's appointment as principal will herald a new era of growth and excellence for San Marino High School. His passion for education, coupled with his ability to inspire and lead, will undoubtedly have a transformative impact on our students and the entire school community. Please join us in giving a warm welcome to Dr. Wolf as the new principal of San Marino High School.
Well, now I'm embarrassed. Thank you for reading what I wrote. Board President Ryan, Dr. De La Torre, members of the board, thank you very much, especially for entrusting me with such an amazing school. And this is going to be a phenomenal year, the start of the medical careers pathway, the start of block scheduling, which will give our teachers the ability to go further in depth with our students during the 2-hour periods. The fact that we're going to have a homeroom, which will allow social emotional curriculum to be taught to our students and allows our students to get extra help from their teachers when necessary. It is, as Megan said, a lot of changes, but I think they'll all be very positive. And I appreciate what you said about student voice. We had student voice panels at my last school, and I do love hearing from students. I think our teachers benefit from hearing what you have to say also in that kind of environment. So I look forward to hearing from our teachers and from our students and from the community. And I appreciate this opportunity. Thank you very much. I'm sorry that you also gave my wife another opportunity to take more pictures of me. She does not need any extra. Yeah. Thank you. And I look forward to seeing everybody hopefully at the first football game against Arcadia. Go Titans.
I'd also like to point out that, sorry. Oh, yes. Please stand and be recognized. Please stand. Thank you. What I was going to say is I also failed to comment on the fact that Rochelle Wolf is a principal in Walnut Unified School District. So they are a family of educators. And so thank you for being with us this evening and here to support your husband. We welcome you to the San Marino family. Next, I have the honor and privilege of, and I'm going to introduce you both at the same time if that's okay, and have you both come up to the podium, Ms. Hazlett and Mrs. Coda. Please join us at the podium. So I'm going to start by introducing interim principal Mary Hazlett, who is a familiar face in San Marino because she served under Principal Topalian as his assistant principal and just did an incredible and outstanding job, and we're so grateful for her service in that capacity and grateful to her for stepping up into this role this year. So we're pleased to announce the appointment of Ms. Hazlett as the interim principal of Huntington Middle School. We also welcome Michelle Coda as the interim assistant principal of the middle school. These experienced educators bring a wealth of knowledge and proven track record to the success of their new roles. Ms. Hazlett's promotion to the position of interim principal is a testament to her dedication and exceptional performance as the assistant principal under the esteemed leadership of Mr. Darryl Topalian for the past 2 years. Her ability to effectively collaborate with staff, engage students, and build a positive school culture has earned her the respect and admiration of the school community. During her time as assistant principal, Ms. Hazlett played a crucial role in implementing educational initiatives, overseeing student activities, including outdoor education, which is a big project, improving student achievement, and fostering a safe and inclusive learning environment at Huntington Middle School. Her strong leadership skills, coupled with her deep understanding of the school's unique challenges and strengths, make her the ideal candidate to lead the school forward during this transitional period. Ms. Hazlett's numerous accomplishments include a record number of outdoor science education participants this last year, elevating the school's social media presence, thank you for doing that, effectively managing the school's emergency management systems, promoting the success of all students, employees, and programs, and responding to diverse community needs and interests. Joining Ms. Hazlett is Ms. Michelle Coda, who will serve again as the interim assistant principal at Huntington Middle School for the upcoming year. Ms. Coda brings a wealth of teaching and leadership experience to her new role. She has been an integral part of the San Marino Unified School District community since 2015, again, a familiar face, serving as an English teacher and co-department chair at San Marino High School. Prior to her joining the San Marino High School team, she was an ICEF cadre leader and English department chair at the Frederick Douglass Academy High School. There, she was responsible for overseeing all English language faculty across all campuses, planning and leading meetings, facilitating professional development, and conducting classroom observations and evaluations. Ms. Coda's academic background is foundational in preparation for this new role. She holds a Bachelor's of Arts degree in Drama and Education and earned her single subject teaching credential from UC Irvine. She recently earned her preliminary admin credential. Her extensive experience in curriculum development, instructional strategies, and student support will greatly benefit the students, staff, and families at Huntington Middle School. This dynamic duo has hunkered down, and they have been working tirelessly over the summer for what is to be the best opening of school at Huntington Middle School tomorrow morning. So ladies, thank you so much. And I will turn it over to Ms. Hazlett to say a few words and then to Ms. Coda.
All right. Thank you very much, Superintendent. Good evening, President Ryan and fellow members of the board, Student Board Member Megan Choi, Dr. De La Torre, members of the cabinet, distinguished guests, and all of you watching from home. I stand before you today with gratitude and a profound sense of responsibility. As the newly appointed interim principal of Huntington Middle School, while I have already had the privilege of working with you in my former role as assistant principal at Huntington, I am honored to now lead this exceptional community of teachers, staff, and students. Over the past 2 years, I've gotten to know the staff, students, and families of our community, the traditions we hold dear, such as Huntington Breakfast and the Spring Musical, and our short and long-term goals for the middle school and district as a whole. I commit to providing an environment of safety and wellness, continuing to implement a system of fiscal health and sustainability, demonstrating a conscious culture of service, value, and appreciation. And I will make sure our staff and teachers continue to prepare our students to be highly qualified global citizens. Throughout my life and career, I've always had high expectations for myself and everyone around me. That's a perfect match for high-performing Huntington and the values of the San Marino community. Thank you.
Dr. De La Torre, President Ryan, members of the board, Megan, I am so proud of you. I am so excited to see you here and for this opportunity for you. She's gonna rock it. She is an outstanding member of our community. Thank you so much for inviting us today and for the opportunity to speak. I feel so honored and grateful to be Hunting's interim assistant principal and to continue working with this incredible community of educators, students, and parents. San Marino Unified has been my second family over the past 8 years, and I have grown so much in that time. This community has supported me in growing as a teacher, becoming a mother. My son is starting at Valentine tomorrow. And most recently, furthering my professional goals. It is my commitment to not only be deserving of that support, but to reciprocate it by doing everything in my power to provide the best educational experience to our Fox families. Thank you again, and I am so excited to start the year off strong tomorrow.
Thank you, and I would like to again extend my sincerest congratulations to you and best wishes for a successful school year. Thank you.
Next, number 11 is an informational item. I would like to turn it over to Dr. Linda De La Torre for an SMPD traffic safety update. And here with us is Chief John Incontro of the San Marino Police Department who will present to the Board of Education an update on traffic safety.
Thank you, President Ryan. It is my pleasure to introduce Chief John Incontro, who has been an exceptional and outstanding partner to the school district in all things safety. And today he had members of his law enforcement team present for our safety drill through Chameleon and Associates. And so we just want to extend our sincerest appreciation to you for providing resources and training and support and expertise to our school district, and just making sure that you're keeping our students and staff safe. We're so grateful to you, and we look forward to hearing what you have to say about traffic safety this evening. Chief.
We want to say hello to his staff members that are back there.
Did you want to introduce them?
Sure. And in the back, we have Officer Archuleta and Officer Lopez.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much, Dr. De La Torre, President Ryan, Board of Education, and other dignitaries here. Thank you very much for inviting me. I always like to remind the board and anybody listening that I'm one of the few chiefs that you've ever had that wears two hats. I get to wear the hat of the police chief, and then I get to wear the hat of a parent of a junior who is an exceptional young woman, as her older brother who graduated from San Marino High School. But she's excited about the new year just as I am. The first thing I like to say is thank you very much for the cooperation that we've had and the working partnership that's been ongoing the nearly 9 years that I've been here. And even more recently, the Public Safety Commission and the City Council put together a traffic circulation study. We're working on it, making it even better. Two things happened. One, the Public Safety Commission really took a look at it, along with our Parks and Public Works Director, Amber Shaw, the Police Department, and Dr. Michael Lynn. Dr. Lynn has been a very integral part of the Traffic Task Force, which was created and made up of several community members, city staff, and again, we wanted to include the school district in that. We've been working on a lot of solutions, some ideas, some recommendations. Director Shaw is recently put together a street use manual that will help the city and the residents and the district work on solutions for traffic problems. And it'll be quick, for the most part, very quick solutions. And we'll be able to put a lot of effort for the longer solutions. I'm very excited about the school year starting tomorrow. We're going to have one of our new bicycle officers riding around the schools, primarily the elementary schools, but he may pop over to the high school. But we'll be using bicycle officers. We have 4 electric bikes, and we'll be using those with the bicycle rodeos of both Valentine and Carver in the coming weeks. And that way we're actual hands-on, be able to talk to the kids about bicycle safety. The other things that we want to talk about is, or I want to talk about, is the fact that again this year, the San Marino Police Department has been awarded 2 Office of Traffic Safety grants. We had one for driving under the influence and also one for specified enforcement. That included some software that's been helpful to us. And we have 2 more that are coming, another one for specified enforcement and then education. We'll be going to the city council to get that approved. But again, it's a very nice thing. It's a nice idea that we've got being recognized by the state for our interest in traffic safety. Our 2 motor officers have been out and about throughout the summer, reminding people to slow down on Huntington Drive. We also have been out there talking to kids. Please remind your children to wear a hat or a helmet. And, you know, those parents that like to ride with their children, put on a helmet just like them. So that's very important. If you've looked at our Instagram account, San Marino Police, we published a list of tips for back to school. And we'll be doing that throughout the school year and throughout every day that we have some kind of tips and information. So please sign up for our Instagram account. We'd appreciate it. San Marino Police. Some of the safety tips that we want to talk about again is bicycle safety. We primarily have problems with the middle school and the high school. Even the boys don't want to mess up their hair. I don't quite understand that need, but they need to wear helmets. And if you happen to be hit by a vehicle going 40 miles an hour and you're not wearing a helmet and you're on a bicycle, the likelihood of you suffering traumatic injury or death is greatest. And the speed limit on Huntington Drive is 40 miles an hour. Also, we'd like people when they're walking back and forth to school or exercising, pay attention. Don't pull up your smart device and be not that smart and not pay attention to traffic. That's very important. Driving with the school year coming up, please slow down. Please pay attention. Biggest thing that we have around the schools is the fact that parents are rushed. Parents are not really paying attention. And if you can be a little more calm, a little more patient, and kind to each other, it only takes a few extra minutes. So arriving early is not necessarily the best thing, but arriving on time and watching either the teachers, the staff, the parent volunteers, they're helping you move through the line and reunite you with your child for that end of the school day is very helpful. We will be enforcing the traffic laws and we will be citing people. So please be mindful of what you can do and what you can't do. We have had an increase in hit and run traffic collisions, and we've had a slight increase in injury traffic collisions so far this year. We don't want to add to that. I want to, in particular, praise Principal Caldwell, because Stuart's been a great partner for us so far. And we were talking recently, became aware that he's got 100 more kids at Carver. Wow, good luck. I'm just down to a high school kid, so I feel good. And we'll be meeting with the district, with the Carver staff, our department, Parks and Public Works Director, and also with the Highway Patrol to work out some of the issues based upon the work that the county public works did. We had no control over it. We had no say about the striping, about the narrowing of lanes, about the placement of the bike lane. So we want to work that out with the county and with the Highway Patrol that does traffic enforcement and investigation of traffic collisions in that area. But overall, I really want to thank the school district, Dr. De La Torre, all the principals, all the staff. Look forward to working with new folks in the middle school and Dr. Wolf at the high school. We want to make this a really safe year for everyone. My child is going to be starting to drive maybe in October. I know a lot of parents are like that. And we want to make sure they get back and forth from high school safely. So we're always available to meet, to put together partnerships. With that, if you have any questions, I'm available to answer. Yes.
Live on Bradbury, and in the future, if they could not do sidewalk construction the week school starts on both sides, that would be helpful. Because I know a lot of parents use Bradbury. So this is kind of like a little shout out too. If you're a high school parent and you're coming up Bradbury, it's gonna be bad until the sidewalk construction is done.
Yeah, I will pass that along to the Public Works Director.
The second thing though, so this is a question I promised Jillian, my fourth grader, who's very excited to do the bike rodeo this year. Where would you advise young children to ride their bikes?
Probably ride in the neighborhood.
Well, I mean, more specifically on the street or on
Oh,
the
yes,
sidewalk?
on the street.
Okay.
The very young children riding, I'd prefer them to be on the sidewalk. Usually the parents are with them and you can kind of guide them and control them. But once you're a little bit older and you're riding a bike, some of the older kids in the 4th grade, 5th grade on the way up, they go kind of fast. And especially through the business area on Huntington Drive, right next to the police station where New Moon and other restaurants are, that there's a lot of folks walking. And we don't want a bicycle and a pedestrian to meet. You remind me of one more thing. E-bikes for kids, there's certain e-bikes that they can ride and some they can't. If you're under 17, you can't have an e-bike that has the max speed, which I believe is 34, 36 miles an hour. And they have to wear helmets. And even scooters, any other electrical motorized vehicle, you have to wear a helmet if you're under 18.
Would you advise student, given the new striping on Huntington, given the narrowing of lanes, given how insane traffic will be for the first few weeks, would you advise that if students are going to ride, that they be perhaps, because they can't ride under like third grade anyway, riding on the streets and then perhaps just walking their bikes once they hit that section and then once they hit the driveway? I'm just sort of putting this out there on purpose because I think that we're going to have a lot of issues if people are not being mindful.
I also think that's a great idea. Both of those are good ideas. The other thing is perhaps right on Sherwood or some of the other secondary streets south of the boulevard and also on the north side of the boulevard. Just to avoid the street traffic on Huntington. With our diagonal parking, it's very difficult as you back, as we all know, to see another car, let alone a bicycle. So I would stay off of Huntington as often as you can, but right on a secondary street and then go north on one of the other streets that lead up to school, whether it's West or Virginia or even Gainsborough around that way or Bradbury, like you said.
So then I think on that note, sometimes our M&O gates are in an effort to keep it secure. Sometimes they're not locked or locked, they're left unlocked. I think we just need to be mindful of the gates being locked and unlocked at appropriate times then.
Thank you. I will remind staff. Are there any other comments or questions for Chief and Contra? All right, with that, I'd like to say thank you so much for joining us and giving us this update. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief. All right, at this time, I would like to turn it over to Dr. Lena Richter for a student enrollment report.
Thank you, President Ryan, members of the board, student board member, welcome, student board member Megan Choi, and cabinet. Tonight it is my pleasure to present to the board a brief enrollment update. Enrollment data that will be shared in this presentation tonight captures enrollment data as of last week, Thursday, August 3rd. Never have good luck with this.
Over here.
Your arrow.
There we go. Thank you. So our department has been working extremely hard these past few months, processing and monitoring registration and enrollment for the 22-23 school year. And I want to personally thank my amazing team, our registrars, Claudia Velasquez, Wendy Chan, and Brenda Chang. They truly have been working around the clock to assist our families with registration so our students will be ready for school tomorrow, August 9th. I'm very grateful and very appreciative of all their hard work. As this slide illustrates, we are extremely pleased to see that San Marino Unified School District continues to grow in enrollment district-wide, particularly, as mentioned earlier, at the elementary levels. This is exciting news for our school district. This slide also gives us an overview of enrollment growth over the past years. So as we can see, there is an upward trajectory with regards to enrollment over the past 5 years. Overall, district-wide enrollment data shows that we will be starting the 23-24 school year with 2,976 students. As of last week, August 3rd, we are continuing to process enrollment paperwork and registration. That is 208 students more than the start of the 22-23 school year. I'm sorry, the end of the 22-23 school year. 267 students more than the end of the 21-22 school year. 195 students more than the start of the 2021 school year. 37 students more than the start of the 19-20 school year, and only less than 5 students from the 2018-19 school year. So we are extremely pleased to see that enrollment continues to flourish. Similar to last year, we observed strong increases in enrollment at our elementary schools. Carver demonstrating the strongest increase in enrollment by up to 100, he's up there cheering, 102 students when compared to the end of last year. As we know, Carver is also home to our new kindergarten Mandarin dual immersion program, which will be starting tomorrow morning. A total of 48 students are enrolled in the dual language immersion program, and the teachers and students are really excited to start their journey towards biliteracy tomorrow morning. Compared to the end of last year, increases in enrollment are also observed at Huntington Middle School with an additional 45 students, as well as San Marino High School with an additional 48 students. Again, we are pleased to see the strong growth at our elementary levels and are hopeful that these students will continue on their educational journey and matriculate to our secondary schools, increasing and sustaining enrollment at the secondary level. At the elementary level this year, San Marino will be adding 8 new classrooms. 2 first grade classrooms at Carver. Well, let's start with Carver. 2 first grade classrooms, 1 second grade classroom, and 2 fourth grade classrooms. At Valentine, we will be adding 1 TK, traditional kindergarten class, 1 first grade class, and 1 third grade class. Again, it is important to note that enrollment is fluid and continuous, with additional families enrolling throughout the school year. However, the data presented tonight captures data up till August 3rd and demonstrates a very positive trajectory with regards to enrollment. Oops. Perfect. On this slide, we're going to look a little bit at Carver's enrollment over the past 5 years. As seen on the previous slide, we are pleased to see that Carver continues to grow over the past 3 years, particularly this school year, where we do see an additional 102 students when compared to the end of last year, and 130 students more when compared to 2019-2020. Enrollment comparison data also shows that Carver will begin the 23-24 school year with 147 students more than the start of last year, which was at 607. But throughout the year, as enrollment is fluid and continuous, additional students enrolled, ending the school year with 652. So this slide illustrates enrollment for Carver by grade level and by school year. Again, seeing a significant increase across all grade levels, particularly in grades 1 and 4. When reviewing enrollment data across the years, we are pleased to observe increases in enrollment by grade level and by grade level cohorts, particularly in the past 3 years. School-wide totals over the past 5 years are seen at the very bottom of this chart. And this is only for Carver. Oh, wow, it did it on its own. Or are you doing it? Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Dr. Choi. It's like, wow, I was getting really good at that. On this slide, we see enrollment comparisons over the past 5 years for Valentine Elementary. Valentine also demonstrates a very positive upward trajectory in enrollment for the past 5 years, with an increase of 13 additional students this year when compared to the end of last year, and 87 more students when compared to the end of the 2019-2020 school year. Enrollment comparison data also shows that Valentine will begin this school year with 40 more students than they did at the start of last year at 643. Now, when they started with 643, they continued to register and enroll students. So by the end of last year, the 22-23 school year, they ended at 670. This slide shows Valentine's growth by grade level and school again, seeing increases as students matriculate to the next level, particularly in kindergarten. So when observing enrollment numbers across the years, enrollment increases are noted when specifically looking at grade level cohort data. And school-wide totals are again listed at the very bottom of this chart for all 5 years. This increase in enrollment at both Valentine and Carver demonstrate a positive trend in the right direction for our district and helps provide a picture of projected growth patterns over future years. Next slide. Perfect. On this slide, we're looking at enrollment comparisons for Huntington Middle School. Although there is a slight downward trend in enrollment from 2019, 2020 to 21-22, we do see an upward trajectory in enrollment over the past 3 years. Huntington Middle School would begin this school year with 45 more students when compared to the end of the last school year, and 57 more students when compared to 21-22. Enrollment comparison for the middle school also shows that they will begin the 23-24 school year with 76 more students when compared to the start of last year, where they started with 605 students, but ended the year with 636 students. Next slide. So this slide again shows the growth by enrollment, by grade, and by school for Huntington Middle School. And when we review the numbers across the years, we see increases by grade level and grade level cohorts, which have been growing over the past 3 years specifically. And once again, the school-wide totals are listed at the very bottom of this page. Lastly, we have our amazing high school, San Marino High School. And although a decrease in enrollment has been observed over the past few years, we are seeing an increase in enrollment for this upcoming school year. San Marino High School will begin this school year with 48 more students when compared to the end of the last school year. Enrollment comparison data also shows that San Marino High School will begin the school year with 59 more students than the start of last year, where they started with 799. By the end of the school year, they enrolled additional students, leaving them at the end of the school year with 810 students. So they are also on a very positive trajectory with regards to enrollment. And on the next slide, similar to the other schools, we see enrollment trends by grade, by year, and by grade level cohorts. And again, we review enrollment across the years. We are seeing, similar to the prior slide, increases by grade level and by grade level cohorts for this past year. So that's a positive thing for the high school. Looking ahead this year, because we always like to look ahead, right? Looking ahead, this year's high school graduating class is approximately 196 students, which you can see 12th grade all the way at the end. In reviewing 8th grade enrollment at HMS, the middle school, we see that the incoming freshman class will be about 228 students so far. I'm sure that will grow, which will also help increase enrollment at the high school when those 8th graders then matriculate to the high school as freshmen. So once again, it is important to note that enrollment data presented in this presentation captures the data only through last Thursday, because we had to have a stopping point because it's fluid, August 3rd. And I know that Wendy, Claudia, and Brenda are still inundated with processing enrollment and registration paperwork, so to make sure our students can get in class tomorrow, or at least by the end of the week. As mentioned earlier, registration is continuous, and so we do anticipate additional enrollments happening, not only for the first few weeks of school, but throughout the entire school year. And then lastly, on slide 11, we see enrollment data broken down by the various types of inter-district permits for the past years. So there are various types of inter-district permits. We have the City of San Marino, and that permit is for parents with families who work for the city, such as the fire department, the police department, or the city. We also have it for business owners, families who own a business in San Marino. Other employment related, it's people who work for businesses or companies in the city of San Marino. And a legacy permit for families that have a grandparent who has been residing in San Marino for more than 10 years. And we do have quite a few of those as well. And then lastly, we have our regular inter-district permit, where families can apply to come to San Marino Unified School District. Next slide. This concludes my presentation for tonight, the brief overview. And as mentioned earlier, we are very excited to see increases in enrollment overall district-wide and are eager to welcome our students and our staff to their new school year tomorrow morning. And with that, I am happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Well, I just want to congratulate Dr. Delatorre and her team for this work because it speaks volumes. It is outstanding, and I'm so pleased to hear. And it's not just a snapshot of what's going on now. It's all of the things that you guys have been doing and putting in place prior to this data coming out. My fellow board members, are there any other statements or comments you'd like to, or questions?
I have one question I'm not sure if we have the answer to. I'm told that we have a lot of San Marino residents who are returning to San Marino schools where they had gone elsewhere. Do we have a sense of where they were and what their reasons were for coming back?
San Marino residents
Who had been in, San Marino residents who had been in private or other schools, but have decided to bring their kids to San Marino. So these are not people who are coming from like who are out of inter-district transfers, but these are actual San Marino residents who are coming in. Do we have a sense of where they're coming from and why?
I don't think we know that off the top of our head, but I think we can dig into the data and, include that on a future report. We do have, and we are collecting reasons why parents may be putting their kids in private schools for, legacy reasons, or, they want their child to have a religious foundation during their secondary schooling. Things like that we are keeping track of, but we can certainly look into that. We don't have it on.
Right. Well, I think this is sort of the other side of that, right? Like, I mean, if people are putting their kids in other schools for other reasons, they're bringing them back here for some reason. And
Anecdotally, I've heard the same thing. I just don't know the number and why and all. Yeah.
I think if we can try to capture what some of those sentiments are, we may be able to really hone in on what it is we're doing so well. And maybe it's just a matter of them needing more information about what we offer. Right. And so a lot of that is more targeted information to those families. And so it's lost opportunities if they're willing to come here, but they just don't know what we have. Sure. So, but kudos, and the numbers are astounding, they really are.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for so informative, and it's just says so much. It speaks to our cabinet and our administration and our faculty. I mean, everyone's doing a great job and just firing on all cylinders, so thank you.
No, oh,
Sorry.
sorry.
Okay. So I check the data 2022 to 2023. So 8th grade, so they have a 206. And then right now they go to the San Marino High School 9th grade. They have a 216. So I think the middle school promotion is doing good, yeah. Students did not go out. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah.
Good job, Joseph. All right. Joseph is taking some credit about his pushing out the San Marino Unified School District. All right. Thank you, Joseph. Next, on item 12 is our action item. And on 12A, transitional kindergarten credential authorization. It is recommended. I'm always reading all of your presentations. I feel bad because it says here on 3 of my scripts that I read this, but I bet Jason's gonna say, thank you, Shelley, for reading what I was going to say. It's recommended that the Board of Education approve the transitional kindergarten credential authorization. I will now turn it to Dr. Jason Rose, who will give us more information.
All right, thank you and good evening, President Ryan, Board of Education, Superintendent Dr. Delatorre, Executive Cabinet, and Student Board Member. Education Code Section 48,000G requires credentialed teachers who are first assigned to a TK classroom after July 1st of 2015 to have one of the following 3 things by August 1st of 2025. Have at least 24 units in early childhood education or childhood development, or both. Professional experience in a classroom setting with preschool-aged children comparable to the 24 units of education described. The comparability is determined by the local employing agency, otherwise known as you, the board. The child development teacher permit issued by the Commission on Teacher Credentialing. Any teacher who is or was assigned to teach TK or a combination of kindergarten and TK on or before that July 1st, 2015 deadline may teach TK without having to meet the additional unit requirement for TK teachers set forth in Education Code Section 48,000G. In other words, they are grandfathered in. Our three TK teachers that just completed the 22-23 school year have met the credential requirements to teach TK. Ms. Chin and Ms. Good would be considered grandfathered in because they started before 2015. And then Ms. Portillo has 12 academic units and an additional 1,080 work hours, which that in itself is equivalent to 24 academic units using the formula that is kind of the standard, the norm. So in essence, she would have 36 academic units. So therefore, it is recommended that the Board of Education approve the transitional kindergarten credential authorization for these 3 individuals.
Do I have a motion to approve the TK credential authorization? Thank you, Mrs. Gill. Thank you, Mr. Chang. Roll call, Mrs. Lamb? Aye. Mrs. Gill?
Aye.
Mrs. Chong? Aye. Mr. Chang?
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan? Aye. Student Board Member?
Aye.
At this time, I would also like to turn it over again to Dr. Jason Rose for the declaration of fully qualified educators.
All right, thank you again, President Ryan, Board of Education, Superintendent Dr. Delatorre, Executive Cabinet, and Student Board Member. The Declaration of Need is an annual document required by an employing a local education agency as a prerequisite to the issuance of any emergency permit and/or limited assignment permit for that agency. At this time, we do not have any teacher openings and do not anticipate, but this would allow us, in essence, a safety net in the event of an unexpected emergency. So it is recommended that the board approve and authorize the district to submit the declaration of need for the 2023-2024 school year.
Thank you. And do I have a motion to approve the declaration of need for fully qualified educators?
I just have a question.
Okay.
So on the type of emergency permit, it's specifically for CLAD?
It is for CLAD because that is one that comes with, in essence, the general credential.
Right.
It's required as having CLAD.
So just to clarify then, it's not as though it's not as though we're doing a declaration of need for credential. We're talking specifically about student
Language arts.
about teachers who have a credential
Correct.
but may not be CLAD credential.
Correct.
Right? Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
I move to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Chong. Thank you, Mrs. Gill. With that, roll call, Mrs. Lamb? Aye. Mrs. Gill?
Aye.
Mrs. Chong?
Aye.
Mr. Chang?
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan? Aye. And then student board member?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. At this time, I would like to turn it over to Superintendent Dr. Delatorre for the certification of signatures. This is the authorization from the Board of Education is requested for school site principals and assistant principals to sign school site contracts totaling $5,000 or less and warrants drawn on associated student body accounts. Dr. Linda Delatorre.
Thank you, President Ryan, members of the Board of Education, Student Board Member, and Executive Team. You have before you this evening a routine item, certification of signatures. The description that you gave President Ryan is accurate, and we are requesting the board's approval for our new principals and assistant principals.
Removed, right?
Correct.
Not, as compared to the ones we had gotten in our prior packet?
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
I move to approve.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Chung. Thank you, Mrs. Gill. Just to read the note, due to the resignation of San Marino High School's Assistant Principal, Victor Ledesma, an amendment was previously read removing him from the certification of signatures, and it has been made. And so with this motion from Mrs. Chung and Mrs. Gill, roll call, Mrs. Lamb? Mrs. Gill?
Aye.
Mrs. Chung?
Aye.
Mr. Chang?
Aye.
And I for Mrs. Ryan and student board member. Aye. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Superintendent Dr. Delatorre for resolution number 1, authorization for temporary interfund cash borrowing under this item.
Yes, thank you. This is another routine item. The district respectfully submits an authorization for temporary interfund cash borrowing in an amount up to $1.5 million. This is, again, being submitted to the board out of an abundance of caution for cash flow purposes. Not that we necessarily need to borrow any money, but if we do, we want to be able to direct staff to make an interfund transfer that we would pay back whenever we get the disbursement from the county office.
And this is not a trend, correct?
It is not a trend at all. This allows us internally to borrow money from ourselves if we have a need. And we have no such need identified at this time.
So this has more to do with between the different accounts that are legally required to have the funds separated.
Yes, that is correct. Also, we have an increase in enrollment, but we will not necessarily get the funds for that until after P1, which is in February. So then we will get an increase in our apportionment, but not until that time. So if we needed additional monies to cover our payroll, which I don't anticipate we will, but on the off chance that that happened, we would be able to go in and make an interfund transfer temporarily to cover that cost.
How many additional staff have we hired this year?
So we have hired, thanks to the work being done in human resources, thank you, Dr. Rose and team, 26 professionals, excluding our new administrators.
But some of those replacements, I guess I'm thinking more in terms of the difference in budget that may exist from what we had previously.
I know that we had to create 7 new classrooms at the elementary between the 2 schools. 10, probably
About 10?
Yeah. We do have sufficient enrollment, by the way, to pay for and fund those new professionals, in addition to operational costs and instructional materials. It's just a matter of waiting until we get the increase in apportionment. And again, we have sufficient monies in reserve to not have to worry about this. This just gives us the tools that we need to be prepared for any contingencies that may occur.
Thank you, Mrs. Gill. Do I have a second? Oh, second. Thank you, Mrs. Lamb. And with that, I would like to do roll call. Mrs. Lamb? Aye. Mrs. Gill?
Aye.
Mrs. Chong?
Aye.
Mr. Chang?
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan? Aye. And student board member?
Aye.
Thank you so much. At this time, I would like to turn it over to Superintendent Dr. Linda Delatorre for resolution number 2. This is temporary cash borrowing from the Los Angeles County Treasurer for the 2023-24 fiscal year. This is resolution E, number 2.
Thank you. Along the same lines as just described, we are presenting this resolution number 2 to the Board of Education to allow us to borrow money from the county treasury. We are required by statute to hold our monies with the county treasury, and this would allow us to borrow up to $25 million for the fiscal year 23-24. Should we need that amount, again, it is not anticipated that we do. This just provides us with the tools that we need should disaster strike, and we're not anticipating that disaster should strike, by the way, I want to make that very, very clear. This is just an accounting precaution. And we do present this to you annually.
Do I have a motion to approve resolution number 2, temporary cash borrowing from the Los Angeles County Treasurer for 2023-24 fiscal year?
It's number 3.
Not 2?
No, that was, sorry, I think mine was number 1, actually. Now
This
we're
is
on-
two.
This is number
Yeah,
2.
so this is number 2.
This is number
This
2.
is 2. We did number 1, now we're on 2. Okay.
I move to approve resolution number 2.
Thank you, Mrs. Lamb.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Chang. And with that, a roll call. Mrs. Lamb?
Aye.
Mrs. Gill? Aye. Mrs. Chong? Aye. Mr. Chang?
Aye.
Myself, Mrs. Ryan, aye. And student board member?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Superintendent Dr. Linda Delatorre for resolution number 3, delegation of administrative authority to process routine budget revisions, adjustments, and transfers for the 23-24 fiscal year. Resolution number 3.
Thank you. We have before you this evening, resolution number 3 for the 23-24 school year. This resolution allows us at the accounting level to be able to make budget revisions, adjustments, or transfers in an amount not to exceed $1 million in between board meetings, because everything that we do is approved by the board with respect to transfers. It's just a matter of us being able to have the authority and the autonomy to be able to make these transfers in between board meetings, essentially. Gives us the authorization to do that. We bring this resolution before you annually. Again, it's just another accounting tool that allows us to do what we need to do.
Do I have a motion to approve resolution number 3, delegation of administrative authority to process routine budget revisions, adjustments, transfers for the fiscal year 2023 to 24? Thank you, Mr. Chang.
Second?
Thank you, Mrs. Chong. With that, roll call. Mrs. Lamb?
Aye.
Mrs. Gill?
Aye.
Mrs. Chong?
Aye.
Mr. Chang?
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan, myself, aye, and Ms. Megan, board member.
Aye.
Thank you. And at this time, I would like to, the motion passes. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Superintendent Dr. Linda Delatorre for management, administrative, confidential, unrepresented employees tentative agreement.
I'm going to pass this one over to Dr. Jason Rose to present.
Thank you, Dr. Rose.
All right, thank you, President Ryan. With the conclusion of negotiations with CSEA and SMTA for the 2023-2024 school year and in alignment with the agreements negotiated with both bargaining units, the district proposes an adjustment of the salary schedules for management, administrative, confidential, and unrepresented employees. It is recommended that the board approve the 5% salary adjustment along with the adjustment in health benefits equal to the negotiated agreements with both CSEA and SMTA.
Do I have a motion?
I move to approve. Oh, I had a question.
Okay.
So for these numbers here, in this, sorry, I don't know what this is the AB 1200? This is the AB 1200. For the AB 1200, do these numbers include the new hires, or is this the numbers that were prior to that?
This is the number, these are the numbers that are prior to that. The adjustment will be made in the first interim. I did ask Reggie that question today.
Okay.
So you will see the adjustment in the first interim.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion for that?
I move to approve.
Thank you, Mrs. Gill. May I have a second?
Second. Oh, go ahead.
All right, thank you, Mrs. John. So Mrs. Gill and Mrs. John made the motion, and let's go to roll call. Mrs. Lamb? Aye. Mrs. Gill?
Aye.
Mrs. John?
Aye.
Mr. Chang?
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan? Aye. Student board member?
Aye.
At this time, motion passes. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Superintendent Dr. Linda Delatorre for AB 1200, Public Disclosure of Collective Bargaining Agreements 2023 to 2024.
Thank you, President Ryan, members of the Board of Education, Board Member Megan Choi, and executive team. I am presenting to you the public disclosure of proposed collective bargaining agreements for the 23-24 school year for SMTA, CSEA, management, administrative, confidential, and unrepresented employees. These are the figures that are relevant to the 5% increase that was collectively bargained pursuant to the agreements that you have already approved.
Was it something you said? Because
They have to
the,
get ready for tomorrow's back to school. They need to be up really early tomorrow, so we let them know. Yes.
okay, so it wasn't something that we said.
No,
All
no,
right,
no.
thank you.
They're being responsible.
Thank you. So may I have a motion to approve this? Thank you, Mrs. John.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Chang. And with that, I'd like to do roll call. Mrs. Lamb?
Aye.
Mrs. Gill?
Aye.
Mrs. Chong?
Aye.
Mr. Chang?
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan? Aye. Student Board Member, Ms. Choi?
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passed. All right. Do we have any more?
Getting that done so early in the year, that's amazing to be able to take that off of your plate and focus on the students. So,
Yes, thank you.
Congratulations.
Great job.
Well, everyone is very happy, and I think it's going to lend itself to a great beginning of the school year, so.
All right, our last action item, at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Superintendent Dr. Linda Delatorre for the Board of Education and Superintendent Goals 2023 to 24. Dr. Linda Delatorre.
Thank you, President Ryan, members of the Board of Education, Student Board Member Megan Choi, and executive team. This evening, I am exceedingly pleased to present the San Bernardino Unified School District Board of Education and Superintendent Goals for 2023-24. On June 1st and 2nd, the Board of Education met at the Huntington Library for their strategic planning session, which was facilitated by Leadership Associates. During that meeting, there were 4 goals that we focused on, but before we do that, I want to introduce the slides. Introduce our wonderful board, beginning with President Shelley Ryan, Vice President Chang. Yes, thank you. Clerk Jane Chon, and members Gill and Lamb. This is the Board of Education that has been working together very collaboratively and coming together on just planning for the future and making sure that all of our needs are met. And I want to extend my sincerest gratitude and appreciation for all of you going above and beyond in that endeavor and really doing the work that helps us move the needle forward with respect to student performance, student mental health and wellness, and providing our students with additional opportunities to be successful. Without your support and dedication and willingness to provide us with guidance, these things would not be possible. And I just feel so honored and privileged to work with all of you and for all of you on your goals for this year. So we have 4 broad-based goals. We've labeled them A through D. That does not mean that they're in any order of priority necessarily. It's just we're using the letters as identifiers. So board goal A is to provide an environment of safety and wellness. And the board is really aware of the fact that without a safe environment, teaching and learning cannot occur. And that is so, so important. And so the board was very wise to put an emphasis on that for this year. Board goal B is to develop and implement fiscal health and sustainability. And this is something that the board recognizes as being ongoing and something that is foundational for us to be successful as a school district. We're all aware of the fact that we are one of the lowest funded school districts in the state of California due to the population that we serve. We get very little supplemental and no concentration grant monies like all of the districts around us.
And so we rely very heavily on local sources of revenue, in addition to the school's foundation to raise $2 million annually to help augment our budget. Board goal C is to demonstrate a culture of value and appreciation to SMUSD employees. This is a carryover as well. The Board of Education has made very clear that we need to make sure that our employees feel valued and appreciated. And we talked today in our professional development about how in Maslow's hierarchy of need, everyone needs to feel a sense of belonging. And that is really important to build a work culture and a school district culture that supports students and their social and emotional well-being. It starts with our professionals in the classroom and works out from there. Board goal D is to prepare students to be high-quality global citizens. And I really respected the fact that our Board of Education took the time to really dig into what does that mean? What does it mean to be a high-quality global citizen? We'll go to the next slide. So part of what we took into consideration in working through the board goals was the vision statement of the school district. We looked at that and decided, that it still fits in with the model. It still fits in with where we're headed for the future, which is delivering a world-class education with recognized excellence in academics, arts, athletics, and activities. And that is something that has stood the test of time in San Marino. We really do want to focus on the whole child, making sure that we are educating and supporting and nurturing the whole child in grades TK through 12 in all 4 of the A's that we celebrate. Next slide. So the mission statement of the school district delivers supportive environments and innovative opportunities for student learning, promotes individual student excellence, invites collaboration and discovery, and challenges students to take responsibility as members of a diverse global community. And this is something that we took time to look at, examine, and decided that that was still relevant in today's day and age. So let's dig in a little deeper to what the board decided we meant when we said provide an environment of safety and wellness. We talked about creating opportunities for increased safety, awareness, and competency, providing a framework for mental health and well-being, enhancing training for security and wellness community-wide. And I want to pause there for a moment and say, we started that today. We started that today by being proactive in training all of our staff, certificated, classified, administrative, on security. We talked about restorative practices today. That fits in with wellness community-wide. And we wanted to do that before the school year started so that we could really begin that work from day one. And that is important and impactful. And I want to thank the board again for really defining what each of these statements and board goals really mean. It's very helpful for us in execution. And then continue collaboration with city, state, and federal agencies. We are doing that on the daily. You heard from Chief Encontro this evening during our meeting. We have a strong partnership with our city officials. I have a lunch date on the calendar to meet with our new city manager next week. I look forward to meeting with him and collaborating with him in the future on all issues that pertain to both the city and the school district. We are going to work again with our elected officials. We are going to be at Mr. Fong's reception. Is that next week? This week, Shelley and I, President Ryan and I. So we are going to be working with also elected officials outside of San Marino as well. Utilizing technology to maximize staff response. Again, we began that mission today by having an expert in artificial intelligence come and talk with us about how artificial intelligence can revolutionize the way that we engage in teaching and learning. And as pioneers in that endeavor, we really have an opportunity to make this goal as impactful as it can possibly be this year. So again, we started that work
today, and we will carry that forward into the new school year. So moving to the next goal, goal B, develop and implement fiscal health and sustainability. This is the goal that we had in place last year that I see as being a continuation, an ongoing goal, which is extremely important, but we have taken it to the next level. So the board really defined, again, what that means for us, collecting data on neighboring districts who have passed bonds, garnering community support, providing updated timeline regarding the bond, and then completing a needs assessment and master plan. All of these things are already underway, and we're rolling up our sleeves and really working together to make sure that all of these things happen systematically. And we have hired a consultant, Joy Coomer, who's going to be working with the board and the school district and our facilities advisory team on making sure that we provide all of these things. And we have already hired a company, LPA, to work on the needs assessment and master plan. You're going to be hearing a lot more about that in the very near future as they begin to interview our stakeholders, the facilities advisory committee, and many of you on the board to solicit your input on what your vision of education is for the future as it pertains to our school facilities. So moving on to goal C, demonstrating a conscious culture of service, value, and appreciation. And I really appreciated the fact that we focused on the word conscious. So we are aware that we are creating this culture of value and appreciation in all things that we do. So we want to instill a sense of pride and confidence in our schools and in our community. We want to explore a diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging framework for TK through 12. We want to develop and adopt an ethnic studies program that achieves the board's goals and meets the needs of the community. This effort is already underway. I know that we have a board member representative. Kirk Chan has been a part of that committee. Dr. Lena is leading that work with stakeholders, and we're going to hear more about that in the very near future. And we want to increase engagement amongst all stakeholders, including our students, staff, and community. Today we heard a lot about student voice and the importance of student voice. And I have talked to the San Marino High School staff about creating a student superintendent advisory council. So we're going to be putting that together as well to get more of a pulse on what the student voice is and changes and things that our students would like to see us focus on in the future. And I can bring those things back to the board and share them with all of you. We also want to continue the work on restorative practices. We did that today. And we don't want that to be a one and done. That needs to be an ongoing effort district-wide. And so I'd like to congratulate and thank Dr. Richter for her work in supporting restorative practices, bringing Karen Yonkers to the school district. She's an outstanding and amazing professional speaker, and she really did engage all of our employees today with a very entertaining and informative presentation. And then we'd like to provide a competitive total compensation package for all employees. Again, that work is ongoing. We're doing that this year. We just talked about that, and we thank the board for their support in that endeavor. That allows us to recruit and retain the best and the brightest, which supports the work that's being done in the classroom on the daily. In addition to that, we want to focus on health and wellness and safety and belonging, and we're doing all of those things, as we've mentioned before. And then moving on to the next goal, goal D. We talked about earlier the fact that you have this wonderful, outstanding goal to prepare students to be high-quality global citizens. We spent a lot of time at the strategic planning session talking about what does it mean to be a high-quality global citizen, and the board came up with providing the conditions for success as follows. Up to date, student-centered learning environment that prepares students to be multilingual digital citizens, collaborative, aware of the wider world that they're in. We want our students to be compassionate. We want them to be empathetic. We want them to be environmentally conscious and aware. We want them to be curious, ask questions, creative, think outside of the box, action-oriented, able to stand on their own 2 feet and make decisions, being decisive. And we want them to have high moral character, to be ethical, to provide a sense of understanding what's right and what's wrong, and really representing our school district in the best light. And then we talked a lot about what the cornerstones for success will be for 23-24. And they are as follows: investing in professional development. Again, we started that today. We had a very impactful professional development session. I've been getting emails from staff, literally, and I'm going to share these with the board, saying that today was the best professional development that they have had in years. And this is coming from many of our teachers who have been here for a long time. And so we also sent out a survey that Dr. Choi put together to get their feedback, because we want to hear from them. You know, are we providing you with what you need in terms of professional development? And we're going to take that data and we're going to really disaggregate it and think about ways that we can improve in the future if we need to. We're going to share that with the Board of Education. Because one of the things that we heard the board say is that you want us to make data-informed decisions. And so we started our faculty meetings today with our principals, looking at data with their teachers. And I think that is very impactful because they can begin the school year knowing where their students are and where they need to provide strategic interventions. And so those conversations at the school site are going to continue to happen. And we're going to continue to look at data. And so thank you for making it clear that you want us to do that, because that really helps us to be able to carry that back to the schools and really enforce that. So I think that that is wonderful. We want to educate, again, the whole child. Because we know that that is our best opportunity for making sure that each child is successful and has what they need to be successful. Providing a safe learning or work environment, that is, again, essential. Nothing else can happen without that, foundational in many ways. And we're doing that. We have hired Chameleon and Associates, which is a company that has been working with other school districts and corporations and businesses for a very long time. They have a very sort of different tact that they're using to train employees. It's about bringing people together. It's about connecting with people. One thing that they say continuously is that you will protect what you love. And as parents, you know, we are going to protect our children because we love them. And the one thing that he said today that's really impactful is think about the street that you live on. If you know all of your neighbors by name, you feel safer because you know who they are, you know what they do. If you don't know any of your neighbors, you may not feel as safe. And in San Marino, we are a very connected small community, and we know each other, right? And if our community is connected instead of divided, then we're all going to work together to be proactive with safety, as opposed to having to be reactive. And so it is a very positive approach to keeping kids and staff safe, and I really appreciated that. So all of those initiatives and cornerstones for success, we are communicating to our principals, assistant principals, they're communicating to their teachers and their staff. And we are going to come back to the Board of Education and present action plans for each of the schools in the board meetings coming up. And so these are your goals for the 2023-24 school year, and we respectfully ask that you take action to adopt these goals tonight.
Any questions on that, since we all participated in the...
I apologize for not reading it as closely. I feel like there's some errors in there.
Okay.
My name's spelled wrong.
Oh, so sorry. Oh, sorry.
There's just a few.
Sorry.
One of the things in slide 2, if you would go to that, I think we need to remove 2 SMUSD employees. It doesn't match up with our action items that are then in C.
So the head, it's slightly
It's-
off from the heading.
Oh, okay. Okay, on slide number 2, the one after the.
See that?
It's
Yes.
slightly different.
Yeah.
That's what we,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the one, as opposed to the introduction slide.
I think the introduction slide might have been our last year.
Oh, I apologize for that. Yeah, we'll get that corrected. Yes, okay. So that's board goal C, right?
And just on the title page, just on that
Yeah.
first
Yeah,
over,
yeah.
that first
Um,
listing.
Yeah, my name.
And her name.
There's 2
Of
L's.
course.
2 L's.
Yeah, sorry.
Force of habit.
I found, I mean, maybe other people could comment on this, the order of the bullets for B to be a little odd, and I don't know that that was,
We took it straight from the butcher paper that Leadership Associates gave us.
yeah, I thought they were gonna rework that a little bit.
Okay. Do you have suggestions? We could talk about it tonight and, because they didn't. I mean, they just gave us the butcher paper and then we took it from there.
It's very bond focused
Mhm.
and that is still not, I guess.
Do you want to make a motion to have one of the items come back for our review and then to approve it? I mean, does it have to be approved in its entirety?
I mean, I'd
Because
like-
you have 4 goals. But she's
Yeah,
talking about one.
Right, well, she's talking about goal B, right? So we
I
agree
just
on
don't
the
know how,
headers,
I guess
right?
I don't know how
Develop and
th-
implement.
this relates to if like an action plan at each school site, which that was done last year.
Mhm. Well, I think it's broader than this.
Yeah.
It is broader than this,
Yeah.
right? Because this is just the focus that's different from last year, this year, right?
Right.
Because whether or not we pass a bond, we still need a facilities needs assessment and master plan. That's something that we have been lacking in for a long time.
And that seems like that should be at the top, because that is a need for us as opposed to.
Yeah, again, I'm sorry, that's just the order that the consultants wrote it down, and so we just picked it up and transferred it here. It's not in order of importance or anything like that. If the board would like me to put it in order of importance, I have no problem with that, and we can do it. But can we look at what this goal was last year and then add that?
Yeah.
With this as,
Yes,
the
because
additional?
in a sense, I feel like we do need to implement fiscal health and sustainability
Right.
in the sense of not operating on a deficit, things like that, and that's
Yes.
different than only
Right.
focusing on bond things.
Yeah, and.
So I think those other action items
Yeah.
from last year are still hold true. We still need
They
to.
do, absolutely. And
That's-
so we can add those under the bullet section of develop and implement fiscal health and sustainability. Because if you take that goal and separate it from what that means underneath it, it's much broader than these bullets, but so is
Totally.
every goal that you have. And when
Right.
you see the site action plans, you're going to see that it really,
That's where you expand, is what you're
yeah,
saying.
it's
Okay.
not mirroring necessarily these bullets, it's
Yeah.
really taking develop and implement fiscal health and sustainability. That is, being fiscally conservative with spending, making sure that we are being transparent in our accounting practices, bringing items to the Board of Education, making sure that we continue to have a strong collaborative relationship with the school's foundation, making sure that we're informing the community early and often about a measure that's going to come on, up for renewal.
Yeah.
So Measure R is going to come up for renewal in 2025, so we need to begin.
So maybe reworking that,
Yeah.
if that's
Right,
acceptable
absolutely.
to my
Mhm.
cohorts here.
Sure.
And then there's just a couple little like typing things with dashes. Yeah.
Typos and like
So I think
Oh,
it
yeah.
doesn't have to do with the materiality of
Sure.
the information.
And we can
but-
clean that up, I'm sorry, I just took literally what they had.
Have you been busy?
Just a week.
Yeah, but also, I mean, again, we just picked up what they wrote
Sure.
down, and it was just that day really quickly, and yeah. And so my team and I are not focusing as much on the bullets as we are on the header and what we know that to be, what
And those
what
are
that
some
represents.
things inspiring what the plan will be, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fair.
Yeah, I
Sorry.
think it's just-
One more thing I had was, I think when we were talking about of high moral character, the insert of. There, yeah.
Of high moral character.
Oh, that's what they wrote. Yeah.
You just wanted to add an
Yeah,
of before
I do.
high. So it
Yeah.
says curious, creative, action-oriented, of high moral character.
Yeah.
Or with. Doesn't matter.
They,
I mean, it's not,
again,
again, that's
Yeah,
not.
and
not
so
material.
we can take this and make it grammatically correct. These were just their notes. That's all it was what they wrote on the butcher paper was up on the walls. That's what got transferred here. But if you would like, we can, make this a lot cleaner and more grammatically correct and make it more of a narrative. These are just bullets, which aren't.
I don't know that it has to be like narrative, but
Yeah.
it's just that some of the bullet points, the way that it's probably stylistic.
Yeah.
And also, like, even on this page, success is spelled with one less C. So it's just little things that I think Francesca and I are like, oh, okay. We understand it's not material.
Right, yeah.
But if
we-
we're making it's just if we're making a motion to
Right.
make this part of record.
Right, but this, okay.
I agree
so
with all the headings of the
This is
goals in
just
your
a
direction.
PowerPoint, it's just a presentation, Canva presentation. It's not like your actual board documents. It's just a presentation to you on what your board goals are, right?
Yeah.
So we can, if you want me to do a separate document, which I have, by the way, let me show it to you. I have a separate spreadsheet that has the goals and then the action plan that my team has been working on underneath that. That is the document that you're gonna see when the sites come back and present their
Well,
action
I think
plans.
we can wait till that's
a more
finished.
Formal
I think,
document,
right?
but we
Yeah.
need the board to adopt its goals
Yes.
before we start that work. So if we could say, right, just look at the headers.
Yeah.
And if you agree that those are your goals for this year, if we could just make it clear in the motion that you're not really adopting the presentation in its format, that you're just adopting the 4 broad-based goals, we can agree to that. And then when you see the action plans that come back, it will be in a report form. All of that will be cleaned up.
That sounds great to me.
So I have one comment that's, if you go to A,
Yes.
so in looking at the butcher sheet, it's create opportunities for increased social awareness and competency, not safety. So it says safety in your, and I get what you're saying, that this
Yeah.
isn't about the fine points of it, but I feel like that's a different meaning at that point. If we're
You're
talking, because on the butcher paper, it said social awareness and competency.
But the broad-based goal is provide an environment of safety and wellness, so why would it say social?
I don't know, it's just what's on the butcher paper.
Okay, I think it was a typo because it was meant to be safety because this goal is safety, not social.
I think perhaps it was social competency. I think so, it was probably awareness around social competency. Because
we combine safety and wellness.
because it's
like
about safety and
two
wellness.
types of
Because it's
safety.
about, it's like we were talking about the Maslow, about the issue of belonging,
Mm-hmm.
and that's part of feeling safe. So I can't, I'm trying to think back to what we were thinking in that moment. I don't doubt that what we want is opportunities for increased safety awareness and increased safety awareness and competency, but I think I'm just saying all that was on the butcher paper was social awareness and competency, because I think that's a different term than safety awareness. When we're talking about social competency, that's something else. And that doesn't necessarily belong here. That might belong in the other goal C.
We can change it. I don't have a problem changing it if the whole board agrees that that's what it should be. I don't.
Well, I guess maybe if we leave it at safety, awareness, and social competency.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Okay.
I
Maybe
think was
that
the original
solves
thing.
the problem.
I think you're right.
And then,
Increase safety awareness and social competency.
Yes, because I think those are two different things at that point.
what about the last bullet point for utilize technology to maximize staff effectiveness? Because that could speak to the AI, that could speak to Catapult. I mean, there's different things, not just response.
Say that again, board member.
Utilize technology to maximize staff effectiveness.
Change response to effectiveness. Okay.
And then one last thing is, I think at one point you say RP in goal C or D in goal C. Can we just not do EduSpeak? Because I know people get upset when we do that. So we know what RP means, restorative practices, but it's helpful to be able to talk about these goals with other people. And when we have acronyms on it, people don't necessarily know what we mean.
Of course, yeah.
So we just make, and just in general, like
Yeah.
DEIB, like spelling things out.
Okay, sure. Not a problem.
Lastly,
yes,
the cornerstones. I don't remember exactly the end. It was at the very end. I thought we had maybe just wanted to move past those, or did we? Because the goals and the cornerstones, remember the woman said she doesn't.
I thought we didn't want to change them, that we were just going to keep them intact, and these were rolling.
Or we made them into 4 since they were.
That was the note that I
5.
had.
Do you remember?
Yeah,
I can't remember.
I remember we were looking at the
like a
vision
goal.
statement, the mission statement, and there was opportunity for change, but they still seemed relevant, so we did not change those. And then we looked at the cornerstones and said they seemed relevant too, so we left them alone and just carried them over. But if you don't want them, we can take them out. It's up to you. These are your goals and your cornerstones. I mean, as I read them.
I mean, we all agree with all of them.
Right, so
it's just a matter of, it sounds like another mission statement.
I just think they're bullets and, you know, guiding our.
Definitely don't have a problem with any of those.
Yeah.
And
then
data
making
informed.
Data-informed decisions is really a powerful one that we're kind of, you know, using this year.
It should have a dash.
Yeah.
So we could leave it.
Yeah.
Okay. So are you guys okay with that and just agreeing to the 4 headers, and then we can bring it back to you in report form that is more formal?
With that,
Do you need a motion?
I do need a motion to approve the Board of Education Superintendent goals for 23-24.
I so moved.
Thank you, Mrs. John.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Gill. And with that, I'd like to do roll call vote. Mrs. Lamb?
Aye.
Mrs. Gill?
Aye.
Mrs. John?
Aye.
Mr. Chang?
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan, aye, and the motion passes. Superintendent, do you have any discussion items for us this evening?
No, I just want to extend again my appreciation for all of your work, and I do want to thank Mr. Chang for helping us with the connection to PCC, the board president, and the interim superintendent. So thank you, Mr. Chang, for your time, effort, and energy in making sure that we have that connection. We're working forward. And I also want to thank my staff because they have been working so hard to make sure that everything over the summer got done. Human Resources, again, hired 26 professionals and 4 administrators over the summer, and it was not an easy job, and they did it really, really well. So thank you, Dr. Rose. And then Dr. Richter has been working incredibly hard on professional development, on bringing kurtosis together, just you name it, she's been doing it. Registration and enrollment has been under her umbrella this year for the first time. That's added a lot of work to her plate, so thank you. And then Dr. Choi has really done a lot of research this summer on artificial intelligence and how we can align our practices to become more efficient and effective in everything that we do in education. And so I'd also like to thank Dr. Lin for all of his work related to working with LPA, the consultant, the city on the parking, and just everything that he's been doing has been really impactful. So I feel like we have an incredibly hardworking, dedicated team of professionals, and I just wanted to thank them in front of the Board of Education.
All right.
Thank you.
And if there are no other comments, I'd like to adjourn the meeting.